Greetings and welcome back to Smartwatch Ticks. We're a YouTube channel on the web at smartwatchticks.com. Got something really pretty to show you here, and it comes from DTNo.1. You know, that watch company has been around for ages, and they're the sponsor of our resource center, the Smartwatch Resource Center. You find at the bottom of all of our videos and the show notes that takes you to our Google Drive, where you can download all kinds of apps you can't get on the Play Store anymore. Nice stuff. And these guys are sponsoring it, DTNo.1. So hope you can pay them a visit using one of their links in our show notes. Also, this particular watch, the DTNo.1 DT88 Pro, the upgrade of the DT88, is coming to us from Banggood, who is also a partner with us. So we're integrating watchmakers, watch sellers, and watch reviewers all in one. We've got a back picture here of one, the same thing as it comes in black, also from Banggood. And we take a look at the overall specs on this watch as we get ready to unpack it. DT88 Pro, Android 7 or iOS 10 and above, touchscreen, tethers to the Fundo app. These are the languages that are in the app and the languages in the device itself. They're starting to separate that. What's new about this one? It says ECG heart rate monitor. And I got to tell you a little bit of story as we go along about ECG technology, and the new renaming of this is heart rate monitoring. It's waterproof IP67, does blood pressure, blood oxygen, all these other kind of things here too. And it has highlighted in here that it has a weather display, music control, and brightness control, which may have not been on the original. Sensors are G sensor and heart rate sensor, and size, well, 1.22 inches, IPS 240 by 240, 180 milliamp hour battery. Standby time pretty good, about a half a month. Using it for about a week, and it takes about 2 hours to charge. Okay, so ECG monitoring. They say it detects health integrated with PPG and HRV to measure accurate data. Runs away from cumbersome medical equipment and display on your watch anytime, anywhere. As you know, if you've watched our reviews before, we've had a challenging time with watches that claim to do ECG monitoring and the Fundo app, which simulates ECG chart creation. So we're going to take a look at that today. We haven't visited the app for a while with that in mind, and see where they are right now. Looks like we're getting some creative wording, though, to try to mitigate the situation of simulated activity on these devices. Wow, really, really pretty watch all in all. It's got a little cover over here. Let's take that off, and my goodness, it's got some weight to it. It's got a single button on the side. Obviously, it's got removable bands. Okay, it's got a plastic cover over the ECG plates. Now, if you remember, ECG is electrical, and you need to have two plates, two electrical plates on one side of the body, and you need to touch something electrical like the case on the other side of the body in order to get an ECG waveform. So it's got at least the image of having what it needs to do that, and in the very center is the optical stuff for doing heart rate with PPG. And it even has a little sticker on here, like a quality sticker. So very attractive looking watch. We open the box, we got a couple of sections in here that open up. Here's where we're going to find the bands, the manual, and the charger. I'll put these on before we begin our overall review. And the charger is a classic 2-pin USB magnetic coupling charger that is strong enough to hold the watch. Not sure with the bands, but yeah, it's pretty good and strong. So we'll get a good charge out of that. Oh yeah, it just hunkers down. Okay, manual. We always page through these things. The English version of it shows you basically it's got touch in the screen and a button on the side. Wow, really tiny print. So I can't read it to you right now. I'll just kind of page through it. You can freeze frame this as you need to off of YouTube if you're going to read it. There's the QR code to download Fundo Pro, or just go to the show notes. I'll have the link to the Google Play Store where you can download the latest version of that app as well. More detailed information about how it works, some FAQs, warranty information, and that's it for English. Alrighty, I'm going to charge it up, put the bands on it, and we'll check this puppy out. First thing I want to call your attention to is the fact that the bands are removable, but there were no pins in the box to put the bands on. So I had to hunt down another watch and take these pins from that watch to put them in here. They're supposed to be the quick disconnect kind, and the way it's built, it shouldn't even be removable. The band should be, the pin should be right in there. It shouldn't slip out, but they're not in the band with the box that I got. Hopefully that's just an oversight, but I like to show it to you as if I were a brand new customer like you will be. Check the box carefully to see if the pins are there for the bands, because the bands are shipped, as you saw, separately from the watch module itself. A press and hold on the side, of course, will fire it up. I got one of my favorite faces on here. Yeah, I've already looked at the watch quite a bit and done some data collection for you on it. And I'm going to just walk you through what's on here and then share a couple of thoughts. First of all, when you slide down, you get into this panel. This shows you the QR code to scan to get the Fundo Pro app. And this shows you you're connected, which I am. I'm going to show you a little bit on the app. Here's the brightness level. There's the absolute dimmest, middle, and bright. And it's relatively bright when you're outdoors, but not excessively bright. So you have to kind of mess around with it. I'm at about half battery now. Been using it for 2 days, I'd say. And relatively heavy. So it's doing really well on battery life. You slide and you just cycle through on that particular panel. When you slide up, you get into all of these different apps, and that's it. There's just that one page of them. If I go left, if I go right, I come right back again. So we're going to talk about these separately in a moment. If I go to the right, I'm going to get into notifications, and I've got a bunch of them on this watch. Here we go. They're just highlights. Here's Alrod, our watch face designer. And it just tells me that I got a notice without the date or time or any other information. Uh-oh, here comes a bunch more. Okay, it's again, they're just listing the titles and the time here, but if you tap it, it doesn't give you the context or any other information on the notice. But boy, it's pumping them out through connection to the phone. Now, if I go to the left, I get into my overall step count information, right? Nice and big and bright, as opposed to the sleep information, which shows me my deep, light, and total down here, but it's really small blue against black, so you have to be very observant to see that. Swipe again, and I get into the medical stuff, and I want to use that word with real big warning that none of the data that I've seen here is legitimate. I wouldn't trust any of it, but it will give you values. And I'm going to rant at the end about the ECG. I'm not going to waste your time right now. I will tell you this before we go further. The heart rate and the ECG are basically doing exactly the same thing, simply using the diode in the back to get a reading. The only difference is the test for the heart rate is shorter than the length of time it takes to get the ECG, and you don't get a heart rate reading on the screen of the watch with the ECG. It says you have to go to the app in order to see it. But basically, it's a fake ECG. Now, one more and you get to the whole sports section. There's no GPS in this watch, but at least you don't have to scroll through everything, which I think is really cool. If I tap in the center, I get this whole big chart that looks like this and goes over here to where you've got yoga and overall history. And if I go into history, I can show you the results of some of my activities, like a almost hour-long cycling. Steps related to cycling? I don't think so. These steps were accumulated after I got out of the car. I actually drove with it in the cycling mode as I usually do, and I walked some, and so I got a few steps in my cycling endeavor. How it calculates your calories burned, I have no idea. The average heart rate, I presume, is what's shown there. And again, it's from a sensor that will read thin air as well as your arm. So I didn't exercise a lot, so I don't have the chance to get a really high heart rate to confirm that when it's on your arm, it actually is reading your heart rate. And again, you've got all kinds of other exercises available to you on this layout, including walking and running and tennis and badminton. It's pretty neat, that layout. I really like that. So let's come back here. If I go into blood pressure, I can get a history, and I can show you the previous readings and the date and time they came in, and no sense doing it because it's just like you see on all the other watches. Same thing here with your blood oxygen. You can see a history in here as well. And it looks like there's 4 of them, maybe a couple of pages worth. And of course, all of this data is transferred from the watch over to the app on the phone. So you do have a historical record of the readings you get from here. Okay, and those are all the things you get when you swipe to the right. So again, now coming up here, I've got my Find My Phone, which is sending a signal over and making my phone ring, and I can stop that. I've got a countdown timer that you can set hours, minutes, and seconds and start on that. Here I've got a chance to reset the whole watch. This is a count up stopwatch, which is kind of interesting. It's an analog display, but it's digital numbers on it. And I can take lap times on this, it looks like. I can pause it. I can reset it. I can play it. Yeah. So you got the timer. You've got alarms that you can set. And then you've got the about the device. And when you look for it for tethering, it's called Smartwatch. And the clocks. So here's the one we just saw. There's a few others. We'll just scroll through them. This is a nice big hour one, but the minutes is small, which is usually what you want to see in a bright sunlight. Here's an earth kind of one. Here's another one. Here's a fancy flower one for the ladies. You've got a more detailed one here. I'll bring that up so you can see. And I could also press and hold, as well as have selected it from there. Show you here. Press and hold. Couple more. That's a nice one with the white digital time in the middle. Here's a plain, simple analog watch face. I haven't showed it to you on, have I? Let's do this and do this and clip it. I have adjusted it a little bit so it fits nicely for my arm. You can set it for the twist your wrist that's set in the app. Right now I have it turned off because I slept with it last night to give you that sleep time. There's another nice digital one. Here's an interesting one with a flame in the middle. Another kids or ladies face. And then I'm back to the one that I like because I got a nice easy read in the bright sunlight of my date and hours, which is pretty much what I need to know. All right, I think at this point, it would be good for us to explore the app. What do you think? Okay, here we go. We're on the Fundo Pro app. We're connected. I do the synchronizing, and it brings over any data that's on the watch to the phone, which includes my step. Here's sports events, and it's not really showing anything there. Here's last night's sleep information. Shows you a chart, light and total and all of that. And you, of course, can change your dates and everything to look at different dates. Here's our heart rate stuff, the heart rate report. Again, this is a weird like crayon. It's showing you something really, really dim here, but there's numbers on the side. There's no time frame across the bottom. So you're just getting a pretty little drawing showing you, in this case, the average heart rate for this particular date. Blood pressure, it's not bringing that over. I don't have any blood pressure readings. And then blood oxygen, same thing. There's no readings being transferred for that either from the band. But you do have your heart rate information, your sleep time information, and your overall daily step count. Now, there's the me and there's the analysis and reports, and that's all covered in other reviews of this app. I want to just jump over here, get you into the connected information for the device itself. You have all your notifications you can turn on or off if you want that pushed, and you saw the watch will only show you the date or the actual time, not even the date, but the time a notice came in and the title or who it was from, you know, YouTube or Alrod or whatever. So not much in the way of actual information on the watch related to pushing your notifications. I can get in here, I can set up a heart rate test, and that's probably what we saw on the chart with the wavy line, was every 10 minutes or so it was doing a heart rate test. Here's ECG detection. Coming back to that, the remote shutter lets you shake your watch or touch a button and take a picture with your phone, find the device, causes it to make a very subtle vibration. I can hardly feel it and no sound whatsoever, but it does trigger the watch. You can set sedentary reminders, drinking water, alarms. Here's your raise your hand, twist it to see the time. Hello? Well, it might take it. There we go. Anyway, yeah, that's there. You can set do not disturb mode, which does not change the raise your hand process. It just stops sending you notifications. I would like it if it would also override the raise hand, so when you're in do not disturb, you twist your wrist in the middle of the night, it doesn't light up, but it doesn't work that way. You have to turn it on and off. Firmware, unit settings, you have some control over this to metric or and Fahrenheit and Celsius, but it's not doing well getting the weather either. Got a lot of little problems on it. But the main thing, okay, before I get into it, the ECG, let me just wrap it up temporarily for those of you who are not interested in ECG at all. This is an overall really nice watch. It's got a nice metal band. You can get it different kind of bands. Check that the pins are in the case. You saw all the different watch faces. It has some good controls on it. It's got your step count, of course, and sleep information. All of that's here. And you got some basic functionality with it as well. It's not really made for doing all of the biometric analysis, as you're about to see. If you're interested in that, I'll prove to you that the ECG is not legitimate. Don't buy this as a health band, but if you like it, the attractiveness of it, for general functions and like the watch faces, it's a pretty good choice. One button on the side, and it's available from Banggood. I'll show you again at the end, but some of you might be bailing right now. I would be. Check the show notes for a discount coupon from Banggood if you want to pick up the DT No.1 DT88 Pro fitness, not health, fitness watch. All right, now let's get into this. ECG detection. I'm going to tap this button. Now it's showing that you're supposed to touch the screen or something, and it will begin. Now I've showed you this app and I've showed you ECG charts on it before, and it was obviously faked because they were all identical. You remember all of that? Well, it's not that way anymore, but it's also not legitimate. Got to show you this. I really do. You guys need to know, because they may, in the update to the app, they may have been making this similar for all the others. So I'm following their picture that says to touch the bezel, basically, around the side. I could do it with 1 or 2 fingers. And then in a moment, it starts up on the app as if it's now receiving the signal from the watch, giving you an ECG chart. And I'm also getting the heart rate on the watch itself. Now, I want you to watch this very carefully. Watch the watch, watch, watch. Look at the patterns of the different marks that you see. First thing you notice, if you're at all familiar with ECGs, it doesn't look like a regular heart wave. It looks like noise. You know, regular heart wave has that P wave that comes up, and you kind of compute the distance between the P waves to calculate what the heart rate is, and also to measure heart rate variability. But what we've got right now is a series of funky kind of jerky lines. However, I'm about to show you that there's actually some repeatability in these jerky lines, that they're not random, that they're not legitimate measurements of what's coming off of your arm signal. It shows you a little piece of paper to say look at it at the app, and it's done here. Now if I view the report, the concept is that this is the chart as if it went on this way. It's going here, and then it's repeating down here, right? Line after line after line. Now let's play that concentration game where you have to turn things over and see what matches. I want you to look at these groups of patterns here and see if you see any of them that match 100% identical, okay, as we look through this. Oh my goodness, look at these. Huh. Huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Folks, what I'm seeing here is an attempt at how to be politically correct. This is not a legitimate ECG chart derived from transmitting data from this watch to this app as we've seen in all the rest. There's a serious concern of the legitimacy of this. So I'm going to flag this thing initially as being questionable at best. However, it gets worse. Let's do a retest with me simply holding my finger over the optical sensor here and not even touching the electrodes. Electrocardiogram, electrode, you need these two electrodes on the body and touch on the opposite side of your body to get the electrical signal through. There's absolutely no way that I could come in here and activate the ECG and simply touch here. Let's restart this. Still getting the diode? Yep, okay. I am not touching the electrical plate, and even if I were, I am not touching the casing at all either. And if you can see, the green diode is flashing under there. So there should be absolutely no way that I get an ECG chart on the app, right? Well, look at that. I've got a really nice big chart now. Whoa, great big readings. Not touching the electrical plates at all. What happens if I touch the plates? Does it change? What happens if I let go? Does it change? What happens if I let go with my finger? Well, I think it's going to stop the chart. The diode's blinking. The chart's still going. There, it finally turned off. There, it interrupted. If I come back and I touch it again, before too long afterwards, it should come back and continue where it was. There you go. 74 beats. Heart wave moving. If I drop it on the floor, it goes back to 0 and it freezes. So I am getting a legitimate, if that's the right word, an actual heart rate from the diodes themselves showing up both on the watch and causing the heart wave chart to start and continue until it's run itself out to its normal time. But no contact whatsoever with the electrical plates. That's something that you can just do with as you please. I'm just providing the data for you. I really can't provide the interpretation. I have my opinion, and I think it's pretty clear what that is. Here we go. This is the chart derived from that effort. I gotta admit, it looks bigger than the other one. It's completely off the chart, so to speak, in some areas. But if you examine them, you'll see there's a sense of a complete exact repeat in the pattern in segments that have been sewn together. All right, so what we've got is a watch that will indeed read heart rate and show it to you on the screen directly here, and will read ECG heart rate in a okay, there it's on heart rate, and we'll do an ECG heart rate on the screen with a simulated icon chart here, and this one will take longer, will run for a longer length of time overall than this one will before it beeps and tells you that it's finished and give you your historical level. The accuracy of the heart rate based on the readings on your body, I haven't evaluated. Same with blood oxygen, blood pressure, but I do know the ECG chart is not something to be trusted. As I mentioned earlier, you can get this watch from Banggood. It's all in all a really nice watch. I'm berating the heck out of it for the falsification of ECG, but if that's not your circus, not your monkey, then that's fine. If you don't need ECG and you're just so-so about heart rate and stuff, it's a really attractive watch. It's got lots of nice features, and yeah, I would recommend it as a fitness smartwatch loosely, because there's no GPS in it for the fitness. But if you want an attractive dress watch, it's okay. It's called the DT88, and again, you can get it from Banggood. So check the show notes for a discount link. Thanks for sticking with me for those of you who did, and keep an eye if you have another smartwatch that uses the Fundo app and you update the Fundo app to the latest version. I'd be curious what you see in terms of your ECG charts compared to what we saw in the past. Have they all changed to this? Has the app just simply updated this way of presenting it? Or is this unique to this particular watch? Interesting to find that out. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching, gang.